Hello everyone, second part of Body Systems Part 1, which is heart and circulation. So if we look at the basic structure of the heart, there are 4 chambers to the heart. The 2 top chambers are the atria, the left and right atrium, and the 2 bottom chambers are the ventricles. Oxygenated blood flows through the heart, arriving like so, flowing through the ventricle and out like that. The pulmonary vein brings oxygenated blood from the lungs back to the left atrium of the heart, and the aorta, the major artery leaving the heart, takes oxygenated blood around the body. Deoxygenated blood flows through the right hand side of the heart like so. The vena cava brings deoxygenated blood back to the right atrium of the heart, and the pulmonary artery takes that deoxygenated blood back to the lungs from the right ventricle. Other parts of the heart to mention are the atrioventricular valves between the atria and the ventricles, the semilunar valves which allow the blood to leave the ventricles out into the arteries but stops the blood flowing back into the heart, and the cardiac muscle itself, which is the type of muscle found only in the heart. So if we follow oxygenated blood from the lungs back into the heart, returns to the heart via the pulmonary vein, through the left atrium, down is the left ventricle, and out through the aorta, where it goes to the body cells. At the body cells, the blood gives up its oxygen, its food, collects wastes and carbon dioxide and becomes deoxygenated, and continues back to the heart in the vena cava, into the right atrium, down into the right ventricle, and out back to the lungs, where it gets re-oxygenated, like so. There are 3 main types of blood vessel: arteries, veins and capillaries. Arteries carry blood away from the heart, veins carry blood to the heart, and capillaries carry blood to all body cells. Arteries have thick muscular walls because the blood is coming straight from the heart, it's under high pressure. Veins have thin muscular walls, carrying blood back to the heart, so it's under low pressure. That's why they have valves to stop the backflow of blood. And capillaries have walls only 1 cell thick, and they're microscopic. Now we look at some of the main blood vessels in the body. Now we've already seen the main blood vessels: the aorta, the vena cava, and the pulmonary artery and the veins. But there are others. For example, hepatic artery takes oxygenated blood to the liver. The hepatic vein brings deoxygenated blood back from the liver to the vena cava. The hepatic portal vein, that carries blood from the intestines, that carries lots of food to the liver, and the liver will store some of that food before it allows the rest of the blood to go out through the hepatic vein. And the renal artery carries oxygenated blood to the kidneys to be filtered. Deoxygenated blood returns to the vena cava in the renal vein. So what are the different components of the blood itself? Firstly, we have plasma, the liquid part of the blood, which is made of mostly water and dissolved substances like digested food and waste substances. There are red blood cells, whose main function is to transport oxygen around the body. White blood cells, which help protect the body against disease. And platelets, which help the blood to clot when you've cut yourself. Now just a quick mention of blood groups, which is determined by the proteins that you have on the surface of your blood cells. Everyone in the world is one of 4 blood groups. O and A are the commonest, followed by B, and the rarest blood group is group AB. We move on to blood pressure. There are 2 measurements taken to determine blood pressure. The first measurement is when the ventricles contract and force blood out into the arteries, and this measurement is your systolic blood pressure. The second measurement is the lower pressure in your arteries whilst the ventricles are refilling, and this is called your diastolic blood pressure. So blood pressure is recorded a bit like a fraction, so you have your systolic blood pressure over your diastolic blood pressure, and blood pressure itself is measured in millimeters of mercury. And a blood pressure of about 120/80 is considered round about normal. Now if we have a look at some of those factors which can affect your blood pressure: increasing age generally increases blood pressure. Males usually have a higher blood pressure than females. There might be a family history of blood pressure, which you might inherit. Smoking is a high risk factor for high blood pressure. Low activity levels or exercise can bring about high blood pressure. which is often associated with diet. A high fat or a high salt diet can affect your blood pressure, bringing about a high blood pressure. And certain medications or recreational drugs can also affect your blood pressure. Now, looking at heart rate in terms of exercise, generally, if you do exercise, you will increase your heart rate. Now, your heart supplies your muscles with glucose and oxygen from the blood. These are used in the process of aerobic respiration to generate lots of energy for your muscles to work. During strenuous exercise, however, not enough oxygen is supplied to your muscles, so the glucose is broken down on its own without oxygen into a substance called lactate, which releases just a little bit of energy. Now, lactate can cause muscle fatigue or cramp, but it can be broken down after you've finished exercise by a continued supply of oxygen from your bloodstream. And the time it takes for that lactate in your muscles to be broken down and for your heart rate and breathing rate to return to normal is called your recovery time. So let's consider a person who has a relatively low heart rate to begin with, but then carries out some form of exercise. So the heart rate increases very quickly, it levels out during the exercise that they're doing, and then at some point they stop exercising and the heart rate goes slowly back down to normal and returns to its normal level about this time. So this point here would be considered the start point of the exercise, and this point would be considered the end point of exercise. So after exercise, the time taken for the heart rate to return to normal would be the recovery time. So if we now consider some cardiovascular diseases, these are disorders of the heart and blood vessels. Coronary heart disease can lead to heart attacks, and cerebrovascular disease, as another example, can lead to stroke. And these may be caused by factors associated with poor diet, stress, smoking, high blood pressure, amongst others. So lastly, if we look at blood tests, this is when a blood sample is taken and then various experiments are carried out and measurements are taken. And these can be used to determine things such as cholesterol levels in the blood sugar levels, to help determine if somebody's got diabetes or not, or used to detect cancer cells in the blood in case somebody has leukemia. Okay, thank you very much.